Hello, I'm Ryan Hammock, Pixxel's Head of Solutions Engineering, and welcome to our Hyperspectral Academy video series. Throughout this series, we will be introducing the basic theory and concepts of remote sensing. We will start by exploring the electromagnetic spectrum and the science of light. This will be followed by the interaction of light with other matter and its applications in remote sensing. All of this will help us understand hyperspectral imaging and how it differs from other technologies. Additionally, we will also introduce several of the use cases, including agriculture and mineralogy, and discuss how hyperspectral imaging can provide insights into those areas. Let's jump in. Remote sensing is the science of acquiring information about an object or phenomenon by measuring radiation through the use of instruments such as cameras and telescopes that collect those data. There are two broad categories of sensor. The one you're probably most familiar with are passive sensors. These include most cameras. These sensors rely on ambient illumination to provide the signal. Another category of sensors are active sensors, like radars. These systems emit their own energy so they can image at night and under other conditions where there's not enough ambient light from the sun. In this video series, we're going to focus on passive sensors. The maps and satellite view imagery in most navigation apps are an example of how ubiquitous remote sensing images are in modern life. These types of images are taken by cameras that attempt to mimic the function of the human eye by producing images in three colors: red, green, and blue. There are, however, many types of imaging devices or sensors, some of which enable us to record energy at many more colors or wavelengths of the light than the human eye can see. Hyperspectral sensors are an advanced type of passive sensor which record data in hundreds of wavelengths or light in a method that is commonly referred to as hyperspectral imaging. This is achieved by exploiting the fact that the materials comprising the various objects in the scene with their characteristic molecular composition and shape reflect, absorb, and emit radiation via the electromagnetic spectrum. The term electromagnetic spectrum describes the entire range of the electromagnetic energy. It is described as a spectrum because it can vary from low energy to high energy and all the values in between. The spectrum is subdivided into energy bands such as radio waves, infrared light, visible light, ultraviolet, and X-rays. For the rest of this video, we'll be discussing the interactions between light and the rest of the world. We'll focus on the wavelengths of the light between 350 and 3000 nanometers. This range, called the solar wavelength, is near the peak of energy output by the sun. In this spectral region, the presence of the sun provides us with an abundance of light that we can use to observe objects by the solar energy they reflect. Once the sun's radiation reaches the Earth, we can split up the transmission and interactions of light into two categories: the interaction of light with the atmosphere and the interaction of light with the surface. Solar radiation interacts with the Earth's atmosphere by absorption, scattering, and emission. These processes are governed by the principles of radiative transfer, which is the physical phenomena of the propagation of radiation through a medium. These processes are wavelength dependent, such that as sunlight passes through the atmosphere, specific wavelengths are absorbed and scattered differently by the atmosphere. For example, ozone absorbs much of the ultraviolet radiation, water vapor absorbs several bands in the infrared. Carbon dioxide and molecular oxygen are the other two major atmospheric constituents that absorb in the solar wavelengths. This absorption significantly changes the spectral profile of the sunlight that reaches the Earth's surface. Scattering is the other process by which photons of light interact with the atmosphere. Scattering results in changes in the direction of the photons' travel when they interact with gas molecules or aerosols. Scattering is influenced by the wavelength of light and the size and material of the scattering particles. How scattering changes the shape of the light spectrum can therefore tell us about the particles that are doing the scattering, such as their size and composition. Some users of remote sensing data are specifically interested in atmospheric correction processes, especially meteorologists who use satellites to observe weather and atmospheric effects. For other users, atmospheric interactions impact the spectral signatures from the ground that they are interested in, and those effects must be corrected by atmospheric correction, which uses our understanding of atmospheric scattering and absorption processes to model those effects. Once we understand those effects, we can correct for them. This leaves us with an image which contains just a signal from the Earth's surface. From these spectra that are reflected from the surface, how do we use that information to understand what we're looking at? The characteristics of how an object interacts with light is a fundamental physical property, and this is the basis for various remote sensing techniques. The way that materials scatter and absorb light across wavelengths depends on the object's properties. These include its material characteristics, surface chemical composition, such as its molecular or atomic structure, physical structure, such as roughness, and in the case of plants and animals, their biophysical properties. The differences in the properties between different materials enables us to distinguish features on the ground. A specific material's scattering and absorption properties vary by the wavelength. Within the visible portion of the spectrum, these spectral variations result in a visual effect called color. We perceive objects as blue when they reflect more strongly in the blue wavelengths, green when they reflect more strongly in the green spectral region, and white when they reflect strongly in all wavelengths, or black when they absorb most wavelengths of light. Thus, the eye uses spectral variations in the magnitude of reflected light to discriminate between various objects. The result of measuring an object's scattering across a broad range of wavelengths is called reflectance spectrum, which enables us to derive insights into the object's nature. One example of how we can use this spectral information is the study of plants or vegetation in general. We can look at the example of chlorophyll absorption in vegetation at the red edge wavelength. Chlorophyll is a pigment in green vegetation that absorbs solar energy for photosynthesis. Chlorophyll gets that energy by absorbing strongly in the blue and red wavelengths. However, chlorophyll does not absorb in the near-infrared wavelengths and instead reflects a large amount of the near-infrared light. The red edge refers to that wavelength where chlorophyll changes from strongly absorbing red light to strongly reflecting the infrared light. This red edge typically occurs between 680 and 750 nanometers. The position of this feature, along with the strength of the infrared reflectance, is indicative of changes in chlorophyll content, leaves pigmentation, and physiological stress of vegetation. Healthy green vegetation exhibits a distinct red edge position, while stressed or senescent vegetation may show a shift or flattening of the red edge. Different objects have their own levels of spectral absorption and reflectance. By measuring these spectral patterns across the solar wavelength range, we can measure an object's spectral signature. This spectral signature, or reflectance spectrum, can be used to identify an object. Materials or objects recorded in a hyperspectral image can be precisely identified by their spectral signature. The ability to distinguish these spectral signatures is an advantage that hyperspectral imaging has over other sensor types, such as multispectral or traditional RGB cameras. In our next Hyperspectral Academy, we'll discuss remote sensing instrumentation and how hyperspectral imagers differ from other types of sensors. Thanks for watching, and join us for our other Hyperspectral Academy videos to learn more.